welcome. I'm Layla Grace with Grace Revealed. So we're a wellness training program. What I'm going to do is just really educate us today on the difference between what stress is and burnout, how you can identify those, and what does self-care look like to combat those. I'm going to ask you to kind of get present with yourself and gauge where are you at. I'm going to share some of the symptoms. What does it look like? Okay, and if you hear one that resonates with you, please write it down. If you're a writer, these are your 3 bullet points on that little sheet I gave you. Okay, so our topic is in blue, self-care fundamentals and how to avoid burnout. So if you want to write that on the topic, my name's there for the presenter, whatever, doesn't matter. The content's more important than my name or my face. So the topic is self-care fundamentals and how to avoid burnout. Our first key thing we're going to look at is stress versus burnout. The second key point in today's presentation is what does self-care look like? And then the last thing are what are healthy boundaries? Healthy. I literally only have like 6 or 7 slides for today. So that seems like pretty easy for us to get through in an hour. And guess what? We're already 10 minutes in. Sort of. We started a little late, but I do plan to get you out of here right by 9:30, especially if you have other commitments, because I know what that's like. That's called a healthy boundary. I'm going to do what I tell you I'm going to do. Okay, so we're going to talk about stress versus burnout. What does self-care look like? And what are healthy boundaries? Did you guys know that there's three types of boundaries? Okay, so some people, we know of people that maybe you may have said they have no boundaries. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't want to get into the specifics, but the 3 types of boundaries are loose boundaries, rigid boundaries, and healthy boundaries. Okay, so there's balanced, there's loose boundaries, and there's rigid boundaries. Healthy boundaries is what we're going to talk about today. Okay. How you guys doing so far? We good? You ready to jump in? Hey. Okay. So this is my little disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only, not to diagnose a medical condition, okay? So we do work with doctors and medical health professionals to present this information, but I'm not a doctor. We're not trying to diagnose anything. It's just for educational purposes, okay? All right. Okay, woo, stress. Okay, so this is what stress looks like, okay? We're going to get into the ugly stuff now so we can get into the pretty stuff. You ready? You guys with me so far? I love the power stories because it just reminds me of where I came from and how important this information is today. Okay, so one thing, I'm just going to, these are for you to kind of look at and see if anything resonates with you. Tightness in the body, too distracted to be present, lose interest in playful activities, feel like you're going to snap at things that you never used to. Anybody experience that? Yeah. Any tension, tightness in the body, headaches, chronic headaches? Any chronic headaches? Yeah. Shoulder, can't remember the last time you had peace. Anybody? Or had fun? Or just lightened up like a little kid. So one thing I want you to know about stress is that it's progressive. Maybe the word is digressive. The longer we leave stress alone, it gets worse. So the problems that happen to our bodies is they get worse. There is a thing called eustress, E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, eustress. E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S. Does anybody know what eustress is? That's good stress. Okay? So not all stress is bad. I hate even saying that because sometimes I feel like stress is the enemy, right? Okay, but not all stress is bad. Eustress is the positive stress response involving optimal levels of stimulation. Types of stress that result from challenging but attainable and enjoyable or worthwhile tasks. Okay, starting a new job, getting married, buying a new home that you really like, having a child, so you have like a deadline. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. We got to get this stuff done, right? Not all stress is bad. Okay? So that's eustress. Distress can be bad. So distress, D-I-S-T-R-E-S-S, distress can be bad. The negative stress response involving negative effects of physiological reactivity. So a type of stress that results from being overwhelmed by demands, losses, or perceived threats. It has a detrimental effect by generating physical and psychological maladaptation and posing serious health risks for individuals. That is generally the intended meaning of the word stress. So examples of distress: death of a loved one, divorce, injury, illness, financial stress, legal issues, conflict, maybe a toxic person, abuse, emotional, physical, mental abuse, unemployment. So the types of distress are internal. So some of them are within us, which means we can change them. We have an opportunity to change what's going on inside of us. External. We cannot always change our external stressors, all right? We can't change people, places, and things, unfortunately. Anybody ever wish they could change a person? Yes, I encourage you, don't try. They've got to make their own decisions. Codependence is a real thing, but it doesn't produce, lasting change. It's okay. We forgive them. The only ones we can change are ourselves, and that's the joy of the self-care we're going to get into in a little bit. So internal can be changed. External cannot be changed. So internal stressors can be changed. External stressors cannot be changed. Perceived stress. This is a really interesting one. You guys know what I'm talking about, perceived stress? I'm going to jump in a little bit more. So perceived stress are the feelings or thoughts that an individual has about how much stress they are under at a given point in time or over a given time period. So personal characteristics, personal traits, lifestyle, sleeping patterns, eating habits, physical activity, hydration habits, social supports, appraisal of stressors, life habits, socio-demographic and occupational variables. Let me give you a good example of a perceived stress. I'm a big believer in words, that they make an impact on our minds and our decision making. So here's a set of words that I hope to encourage you with. Nothing is ever as good as it seems. And nothing is ever as bad as it seems. Does that make sense? Did you ever have a moment where you felt like doom and gloom? Oh my God, I can't, well, am I gonna, and the next day, something turned around and you were fine. It wasn't bad, right? It wasn't that bad, okay? Or if anybody, I am, say newly married, 6 months and some change, right? Okay, personally marriage for me, I wait a long time, which means that I did a lot of research and development. It's called online dating. It's a practice in rejection. It's not fun. But sometimes you meet people and you immediately click, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. And then you get to know them and it's like, oh my God, I wish I never met you, right? Okay, so sometimes what we perceive is not true to the quality and nature of what's really going on. Does that make sense? So nothing's is ever as good as it seems. Nothing is ever as bad as it seems. Here's a fun statistic for you. If it resonates with you, please write it down. 96% of our fears never come to pass. You know that? 96% of our fears never come to pass. Literally, our brains are creative. They come up with really weird crap storms that never come to pass. The 4% that actually do come to pass are rarely as bad as we imagine. Like my brain just lit up just hearing that statistic again of like, fear is funny, it's tricky, it's feisty little demon, right? So 96% of our fears never come to pass. That's stress, okay? Ooh, we're getting through the mud first so we can get to the good stuff. Are you guys with me so far? Any questions before I go into burnout? I mean, before sharing about burnout? Prolonged stress means if we don't do anything, we just leave it alone and don't do anything, it leads to burnout. And burnout is when your body cannot keep up with the demand. Okay? So when your body cannot keep up with the demand of stress, burnout is around the corner. Here are some of the byproducts of prolonged stress. Chronic headaches. They just don't go away. Keep coming back. Anxiety, depression, memory impairment. Oh man, normally I'm really on top of my game. I told them I'd be there. It's even in my calendar. How did I miss that? I slept right through that meeting. Or what did I tell you? I'm so sorry. I can't. Oh. Memory loss. Insomnia. Can't sleep. Weight gain, especially around the gut. So this is like the stress tummy right here. And if we're really, really stressed, we start to gather there. Especially for us females, but men too. Heartburn, irritable bowel syndrome, shortness of breath, high blood pressure, heart attacks or strokes. So for women, you have like more intense PMS, menstrual cycles, low libido, fertility problems, so a lot of hormonal upsets. Tense muscles leading to chronic pain or injury. If a muscle is tense for too long and you get bumped or you're called upon to use it and it's tense, it can really lead to injury. High blood pressure, which can lead to type 2 diabetes, weakened immune system leading to frequent infections. Severe fatigue, reactive hypoglycemia, low blood pressure, dizziness, heart palpitations, anxiety or adrenaline rushes. Before I was hospitalized for my heart stopping several times a day, I would get adrenaline rushes. I will admit, I think I was like a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. Like, I was like, how much can I get done? You know, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. You know, it was like going to bed at like, oh, if I was in bed by midnight, it was like early. It was like 2 a.m. was my bedtime. And I get up at like 6 or 7 and just do the whole thing over again. Okay. But there was a lot leading up to that where I didn't pay attention to my body. Sensation of impending doom. I miss any? Cannot handle crowds. That's kind of an interesting one. I was working with the great side of this is we can't give what we don't have, okay? Here's your friendly reminder. You can't give what you don't have. We can't give what we don't have. But guess what? This is the cool part. You can give what you do have. And if and when, not if, when, look at y'all, you came today. When you put yourself first, when you take care of yourself, when you check in with yourself, then your options open up to give from a place of abundance. You can give what you do have. This is why we came, the self-care, right? Okay, did anybody have some resonating things with the burnout or stress? Did you guys see a symptom within yourself? Anybody not experience anything? Okay. Yeah. Maybe it'll hit later on too if you're like, ooh, I always heard people say, you got to listen to your body. Has anybody ever said that or heard that? You got to listen to your body. I thought that was a crock of crap. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm just tired. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Right? Or like, I'll sleep on the weekend and make up for it. No, we only have today. Today's the most important day. If you are fatigued, naps are real things. They can happen in the backseat of your car. They can, go home on your lunch break. Naps are a real thing. Like, there's some people out there like, don't do that. If you feel overwhelmed and completely stressed out, power naps are a real thing. I give you permission to put yourself first. If you're feeling overwhelmed, we can do it. Okay. Why do we do self-care? Awareness, clarity, simplicity. Does anybody ever feel like you have chaotic thoughts? Like, I'm a lefty, right? Any other left-handed people in the house, right? We're like creative. Our brain's like, pew, 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 pew. And then we're like, okay, we got to go with one idea, stick to it, and then it's going to be powerful. But then it's like, pew, 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 and then we like never get anything done, okay? It's not just lefties, okay? I hate it. Sorry, I shouldn't have called you out. I'm just saying, sometimes our brains are like, pew, 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 especially if we're stressed out or burnout. It's like, what was I doing? I used to think I was microwaving a burger or something. It was a burger. And I would find this burger in my cupboard like days later because I was warming up my lunch or something. I don't even know. That was burnout, all right? That was like, I had no idea. I was putting food in the cupboard thinking it was the microwave. Like, brains do funny things. So, why self-care? Awareness? Awareness of what? What are we trying to be aware of? All right. We are trying to be aware of ourselves first. Ourselves. Who we are. Do I like myself? Do I want to be around myself? Do I enjoy my own company? And then others. All right, so ourselves first. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do self-care. So, has anybody ever noticed somebody when they're checking out? You ever be in a social situation and you're like, everybody's vibing, hanging out, and you want to get to know people and we're social, or maybe even kind of know them, but you want to catch up with them, how they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And they start checking out. You ever see this? Like the lights are on, but nobody's home. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like somebody just checks out, or they're like, scroll. Like, I know I'm being social right now, but I'm not being social right now. You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay. I also try to be a stand-up comedian, but sometimes it's not funny. Okay, so some people are checking out, right? Or you ever home with your family, you just need to wind down, or home by yourself, and you just need to unwind for a little bit, and you completely miss what's going on around you. Okay, so that's called checking out. I want to challenge your idea today about self-care being an opportunity for you to check in the moment, to check in the moment. Especially, this is the indication, right? You guys with me? This is the indication. You all know what yours are. We all have totally different triggers, right? Different people trigger us in different ways, right? You have different people that are like, oh God, oh, I don't want to talk, or whatever, or it could even be a smell that triggers you. We never know exactly what the trigger is going to be. We do know we do get triggered, and it's what happens when we get triggered. That's a whole nother PowerPoint. But today, the opposite of checking out is checking in. The opposite of checking out is checking in. Myself first, then with other people, and then maybe even spiritually with God. Who knows? All right. So this is kind of cool. Remember how I told you that stress is progressive or digressive? If you leave it alone, it's going to get worse. It's kind of like that bad tire on your car. Like if you leave it alone, the tread wears down, right? It's getting worse. Like literally every mile, right? It's going to get worse. But self-care works the same way in the opposite direction. It can build on itself and it can improve better and better, and you can feel better and better the more you practice it, just little by little. Does that make sense? This is awesome. This is really cool awareness and clarity that's going to gain simplicity if your brain's like, pew, 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 where do I start with the self-care stuff, right? Okay? You start small with one thing. The cool part, too, is we get happier, more rewarding lives, like rich, rewarding lives. That same dad, he learned some lessons, and he's checking in more. He's leaving his phone in the car, and he's like, Layla, oh my gosh, my son, he's amazing. Do you know how amazing my son? I've never met his son, okay? But guess what? That bond between them is more valuable, it's more vibrant. His son is feeling known, seen, heard, valued, because his papa is with him. We get to enjoy, we get to suck the marrow out of life when we're present. We get to suck the marrow out of life when we're present. All right. So you guys have likely heard the progression, mind, body, spirit. Like people talk about holistic living, mind, body, spirit. Does that make sense? So we are created with a mind, a body, and some people say soul, right? There's a part of us that like lights up that like we don't really know exactly how to, it's not something you can buy off of a shelf, right? It's our character. It's something that is our aura. I don't know how you want to say it. I don't know. It's our being, right? It's not just our body, and it's not just our mind. It's our spirit, soul. I don't know what you're going to call it. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's that part of us, like when we watch a movie that's really moving, it's like, oh, I don't know what just happened, but it's moving me. It's like, it's part of who we are. So self-care is meant to be holistic, mind, body, and spirit. When I was grappling and trying to figure out where do I start, so I ended up having to hire some holistic doctors in tandem with my cardiologist and my neuro team to save my organs. But I'm like, where do we start? Like, which organ first? They knew. They took care of me. Like, we figured it out. But it wasn't just a one size fits all. When I was sitting in that room talking about emotional sobriety, something hit me. I don't know if it was God. I don't know what happened. I just heard in my spirit, if you take care of your mind, your body will follow. If you take care of your mind, your body will follow. Because we all know what it's like to be super tired, exhausted, tired. Like sleeping, but waking up and not feeling rested. You guys know that feeling? It's not fun. But I kept saying, if I take care of my mind, my body's going to follow. So how do we do that? When we want to check out, we have to check in. So I started making calls. I would pick up the phone. I would try to find someone that was emotionally sober. It's up to you how to gauge. It's usually somebody that's not trying to fix or rescue us. It's usually somebody that has healthy boundaries that can listen to you without trying to give you a medicine. They just be like, ooh, I hear you. A really good technique of communication, this is good with kids, it's good with coworkers, it's good with marriages. This is like awesome bonus material. It's called Imago. Has anybody ever heard of Imago relationship therapy? So you have a sender. Can I use you for a minute? So you have a sender, and Tammy, right? Kim. Kim is my receiver. So I'm the sender, she's the receiver. So I am going to share, and she just listens without judgment and doesn't interrupt me. I feel like I'm talking to my husband right now, but and then when I'm done, she'll be like, was there anything else? And I'll be like, well, actually, women like to talk. We need 4 times as many words in a day than men. Did you guys know that? Females need like 40,000 words, and men only need like 10,000. You laughing because you know. So, okay. And then what she would do is mirror me. What I heard you say was, bullet points. What I heard you say was, bam, bam, bam. So you mirror, and then empathize. Ooh, that's something you're going through right now. Wow. Still, she didn't try to fix me. She didn't try to give me a solution. If she has a solution, she could say, hey, are you open to some feedback? Would you like some feedback? If not, that gives me a choice. Healthy boundary again. Nah, I just need to get that out. Thank you, though. She's like, okay. So listen with empathy. Let's check in, like, how are you doing? It's simple as like journaling. How am I doing today? What are my feelings? What were the victories of today? What did I struggle with? Write it down. Just get with yourself. Do some journaling. Some people need to like really go to town and let it all out. Somebody just might need a few little questions. What did I learn about myself? How did I get to know myself? Did I do something today to enhance my life? Journaling. And then some people may really need some help. Go schedule a time with a counselor. Do you guys know psychologytoday.com? Or I think it is. I think it's Psychology Today. But you can put in your area, and you can look at pictures of therapists, and you can see what their specialty is, and then you can see if they have time to meet with you. It's that simple. I'm like a people person. Like, I want to stare at their picture and be like, would I feel safe with them? With like all my stuff, It's like, they came recommended, but I don't like the shirt they're wearing. I don't know. I don't know. I think too much sometimes. So that's why I check in with my mental health professionals, right? So that's the mind. Body. How's your body doing? Do you need a check-in? Do you know almost 50% of adults stopped basic, healthy annual routines during COVID and never picked them back up? Like annual visits, y'all. We used to do them. They used to be a normal thing. And people are like, don't want to get sick. Like, no, we're actually trying to prevent you from being ill. Like, I'm not even a doctor, but I recommend like those healthy check-ins. Go see the dentist. Are you too long overdue? Do you need to get your hair done? We all know, women, our hair is our identity. Our hair is our identity. That's how people know who we are. My husband's bald. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and that's part of his identity too. His shiny bald head. It's more work than people think. They're like, oh, he's lazy. I'm like, no, that's a lot of work. Like, consistently. And shaving cream and razors. And anyway, so how's your body doing? Do you need to take care of your body in some way? And your spirit. How's your spirit doing? How's your joy tank? How's your love tank? Do you feel like you enjoy yourself? Do you feel like you enjoy other people? How's your spiritual connection? Even with yourself. Are you happy, whole, connected? Do you need to, I don't know, get some praise on, worship? I don't know, go to church. I don't know. Everybody's different. Everybody gets connected. I'm a big believer in. I kind of skirted this earlier. We had shared there's 3 types of boundaries: rigid boundaries, loose boundaries, and healthy boundaries. I'm going to use food for an example. When I realized that my family had loose boundaries, they would pick off of each other's plates. Be at a picnic. I was like, that's my food. I stood in time, I stood in line for that food. Like, who does that? And so loose boundaries are just crossing, has anybody experienced somebody that stole a hug? Has anyone ever stolen a hug from you? Yeah, there's some creepers out there. It's a real thing. Like, oh, give me a hug. Men and women, okay? Like, They do, oh, give me a hug. I'm like, no, I get a choice. I have a choice. Okay, this is my body. I don't want those arms around. Okay, like we get a choice. There are hug stealers out there. Like I forgive them, but don't touch me again, please. And I'll box you out because like I want a choice. And I also like to give people a choice. Hey, can I hug you or up for it? Because some people really aren't. Don't touch me today. I'm not feeling it. And we have no idea why. So rigid boundaries are don't touch me. Control freak. Sorry, I didn't mean to like yell at you. Don't touch my food. What are you thinking? That's like rigid. How dare you? Don't. I could get into it, but we don't have a ton of time. So healthy boundaries is knowing where you end and the other person begins. So if you haven't read it, the book Boundaries by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Henry Cloud and Townsend, Boundaries. It really has a lot of stories to help you understand what it's like to live with loose boundaries or very muddy line of boundaries and where healthy boundaries are, to give someone a choice. Ooh, wow. That food looks good. Can I try some of that? Okay. And it gives them a choice. Instead of like, yeah, there's balance in it. I like the hug example too. Like, hey, I could use a hug. Would you mind giving me a hug today? I'm like, need some comfort and I don't want to eat it today, because I am a recovering comfort eater, right? Like I could use a hug because that's like healthy comfort from a healthy person that ain't trying to steal anything. The truth is you cannot give what you do not have, physically, emotionally, financially, relationally, and spiritually. I want to give you permission today that it's okay to say no. It is okay to say no to people without an explanation. It sounds like this. I'd love to help you. Really sorry, cannot do that. Thank you for that invitation. I won't be able to make it. What's happened in the muddy world of losing that line with healthy boundaries, knowing where my work ends and my life begins, is that we perpetuated this all on demand, all the time. That our minds and our physical bodies were never designed to handle that amount of pull. The word cell phone, cell, is spelled C-E-L-L, right? What other word that we know of is spelled C-E-L-L? Prison, a jail cell. Bondage, stuck, bound to. I just want to end by saying, please start simple. Think of one thing that you can do to enhance your life experience today. Inventory with yourself to say, hey, how's my mind, body, spirit? Where do I need to start? Again, I believe you start with the mind, the body, and everything else comes together. It all follows. The right answer will come. And gently attend to that one area that desperately needs some attention. If you want more help, I'd love to help you. I will have this little fun QR code. We do weekly wellness updates. They're just free little emails that come to your inbox once a week, so not to stress you out, but just to encourage you with reminders.